What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to this video by Alanah Pierce, and it's titled Game of the Year is Bull. You know the rest. I am trying to move away from reaction stuff and trying to do my own videos, but every now and then something might be interesting, so I might check it out. So yeah, let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this reaction. Let's go.
This webcam looks like it's sitting perfectly straight, and yet it looks like we're about to fall out of my room. So I guess that's just how today's video is going to look. I'm sorry about that. We're a little sideways today. So, it has come the time of year when everybody debates Game of the Year. I'm going to be honest, I think this year's Game Awards is going to be big. I feel like there are going to be a lot of announcements, and I'm excited about it. That's mostly a hunch, a couple of things I am aware of, but I think it's going to be a good one. I, of course, could be completely wrong. Don't overhype yourself about anything, ever. Good way to live. So the Game Awards website, thegameawards.com, went live with their nominees. People are, as they are every year, upset. And I'm sure I have made a video covering this before, but I just wanted to do it again to explain to you why, essentially, Game of the Year is utter nonsense, and how the jury works.
Stay tuned, because I have a video that I'm going to be doing about why I think that the Game Awards is it's lost its way, definitely. If it ever was on the right track in the first place.
Works, and why it's utter nonsense, and actually why that's completely okay. So nominees for this year's Game of the Year. Recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Sorry if you can hear my dog chewing on his bone. He has a shorter life than us, okay? If he wants to chew a bone in the background of my stupid YouTube videos, he can. But this is what it looks like. Alanah 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is my pick.
Okay, I haven't played all of these games. The only one on here that I actually played was Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not really a horror guy, so Resident Evil 4 and Alan Wake 2, not my thing. I considered playing them, but I'm not really a Mario fan like that, so I wasn't going to play that. And I've never played Zelda before. It didn't really look that interesting anyway, and if it ain't Pokemon, I'm really not a big fan of playing Nintendo games, because I just feel like they need to upgrade their hardware. I know a lot of people don't care. I do. I think that the handheld / docking system of the Nintendo Switch is kind of half-assed. And I didn't play Marvel Spider-Man 2 either. I didn't really have a desire to play it. I know it's good though. I mean, I watch people play it, so I know it's good, but I guess between Spider-Man the first one and Miles Morales the DLC, I kind of got my fill of Spider-Man. Maybe I'll play it at a later date, but yeah. But I think that just based on art design, characters, gameplay, I think that objectively Baldur's Gate 3 would be better. I mean, look at all of the success it has as a result of it being released. I mean, most people are just saying Baldur's Gate 3 unless they have a specific preference to a certain type of game. But yeah.
Pick. Though I think Alan Wake 2 is so goddamn brilliant. What a list. It's a tough one overall because there are a lot of people talking about certain games being snubbed. There's certainly a sentiment that the jury is all paid off by PlayStation, even though there's one PlayStation game and 2 Nintendo games. And so as somebody who has been on various Game of the Year juries, I've done it for the Game Awards maybe 5 times. I did it for BAFTA. I think I've done it for maybe 6 different companies. They all function quite differently, and I think a lot of people don't understand how the Game Awards specifically works, but I can speak to that. The Game Awards jury functions in a sort of unique way, in fact I would say in the most hands-off way, which is kind of why you shouldn't care. I mean, I'll elaborate on that further shortly. I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy the Game Awards. I love it. It's a show that I really enjoy watching every year. We'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is what the jury for the Game Awards looks like, okay? It is a very big jury of a lot of people from all over the world who often don't even speak the same languages. The suggestion of collusion here is frankly ridiculous. This is far too many people from far too many outlets for collusion to even be able to coordinate. Like, it keeps going and going and going. It is a very, very, very long list of people. So the way that other events that I have been on the jury for function, the one that's most involved is BAFTA in my experience. You have to play every single game. They require you to play them all. They will give you keys for every single game. You don't have to finish them. That functions essentially across all of these. How would they know if you finish games or not? And I think it would be interesting to do a specific game awards with people who've only finished the games they played, but I'd like to make the jury so small, so I don't know if there's really that much advantage to it. But then you debate, effectively, like you have several Zoom calls or whatever where you would sit with these people who are also on your jury panel, all of whom have been selected from usually different dev studios or different outlets, media outlets, so they're from different countries and have different skill sets, and you basically get in a room and every single person has to give their case for which game or why they didn't like a certain game. Everybody has to be able to speak, and then you kind of come to a conclusion, and then you get to anonymously vote at the end. That's the most involved that I've done. That's BAFTA, and if that's the thing that you're interested in, my suggestion is go watch BAFTA.
Like, there are so many Game Awards shows that there is always going to be one that you like the voting process for. The Game Awards is very, very, very simple, which is like to its credit and not to its credit. It works both ways. The Game Awards, they pick outlets.
Alright, before she even continues, based on what she said about the BAFTA one, I've never even heard of that before now. That sounds like the most reasonable one to do in how to decide what games get voted for an award and which don't. Because I don't know, personally, if you're part of a committee and you haven't played all of the games that are being nominated, it's like, I don't know, like, even me, like, my opinion is just my opinion, but like, I wouldn't think that even I qualify to say which game is the game of the year because I only played one of them. But if you're on a committee, I think that there's a certain level of responsibility that you have to have. So you have to play all of them. Otherwise, you just shouldn't be on the committee. I guess like the awards in of themselves don't really hold much weight. But I mean, they matter to some people. Like especially like devs and studios. Like they may be significant to them. Like a nice little milestone to put on their shelf. So I think that if you're going to be a presiding judge over what should win an award and what shouldn't, you should have indulged every possible nomination. Even if you didn't complete them, you should have at least played enough of them to get a sense of what you enjoy and what you don't. But that's just my opinion.
Most of the time, so I did this while I was at IGN and while I was at Funhouse. And the way it worked at both of those companies was that we would be sent like a voting form, a Google form to vote. You do get to pick nominees, so we would just take whatever majority of the staff picked. The nominees that were repeated by the most staff members would be the ones that we would then present to the Game Awards. There was no discussion about it. Everybody just got to individually vote, and then whichever game was the most popular effectively was the one that made it through. The Game Awards does something similar where they just tally what each of the companies who already tallied their nominees and are sent over, and then the most popular votes get to become the nominees. And then the voting is the same thing, so we get those 5 games back and vote on those 5 games and send the votes back to the Game Awards. It doesn't have a jury that has a discussion. There is no room for collusion because these people don't even talk to each other, let alone know each other. There is no way that this jury can be biased, really. Like, there's no conversation. They are global. There are people in China, there are people in the Middle East, there are people in South Korea, there are people from the Philippines, there are people from France. Like, it's really just a full global aggregate of what a bunch of popular outlets in those countries, meaning, you know, people who are doing this as a job, playing games as a job, experiencing gaming culture as their profession, think is the best thing that came out of it. The same thing applies to like people saying that they think Hogwarts Legacy didn't get a Game of the Year nomination because of politics. What politics? Like, is the implication that everybody from all over the world has the people in Singapore feel the same way as the people in South Africa feel the same way as the people in South Korea feel the same way as the people in Turkey? Basically, what the Game Awards is an...
I do feel like there should be like at least 10 nominations for each category, because I definitely think that Hogwarts Legacy, with the success it had earlier in the year, should have at least had a nomination. I actually play Hogwarts Legacy. Having played both, I still think that Baldur's Gate 3 is better, but I think that Hogwarts Legacy is good enough of a game that it should have at least been nominated. But that's also just my opinion. And also, I think that there should be a universal consensus on what qualifies a game. Like, I don't think that every gaming awards should have its own set of rules. And I do believe that, like, I don't know how many award ceremonies there are, but there should be like at least no more than 3. Like, I think that, like, for example, like acting has like the Oscars, the Golden Globes, the Academy Awards. Like, they should keep it at 3, because otherwise, like, I think that it starts to get out of hand, especially with all of the like varying rules and such. And like even those 3 like pools of judges, like, they don't necessarily have, I guess, like the exact same set of rules, but they're close enough.
International popularity contest, and that is usually reflected in the votes in terms of the games that have the biggest marketing budgets are the games that get nominated for Game of the Year. There are definitely games that I would have nominated personally that never would have made it through, even if I were at IGN and I said I think Dread should be nominated for Game of the Year, which I do. There is no way that it would have left IGN, because not enough people even in that office will have played that game. They're going to play the games that are the most heavily marketed, because those are the games that they know about. Those are also usually the games that most gamers want to talk about, and thus are the ones that it's more important for people who work at these companies to make sure they play, like a Spider-Man or a Tears of the Kingdom or clearly Baldur's Gate, which is effectively huge. So for all of the talk all the time of like, this got snubbed at the Game Awards, my thing is just, it's not really what that show is trying to do, or the show would function differently. It is effectively, by design, an international popularity contest. And again, I think that's fine. Like, it's totally cool for the Game Awards to function that way. It's a lot of fun. It means that you're going to know majority of the games that are nominated for anything, which is probably better for majority of the audience, who are, to be fair, very casual. And that's okay. That is the purpose that this show serves. There are other Game Awards that focus on different things, that have more hardcore juries, like BAFTAs. If you see the games that come out of a DICE Awards or a GDC Awards, which are much more dev-focused, you'll see very different picks. I mean, you'll still often see the big AAA games, because they're the ones that like are undeniably incredibly high-budget, polished, do things a lot of other studios can't do, but you will see more variety from the dev side, because those aren't people who work in an industry where they need to play every single big game. Often, I think a lot of big games can feel very similar to one another. They're often more interested in playing games that feel innovative, or that their peers have told them about, and thus are more likely to play slightly more niche games than the media are. They're people serving different purposes, their awards serves a different purpose. But if we actually pull over what the Game Awards has to say about how their nominees are selected and chosen, just because they label it themselves, but I don't think a lot of people really read over this as often as they maybe should. How are nominees selected? Nominees for most categories of the Game Awards are chosen by an international jury of over 100 global media and influencer outlets, selected for their history of critical video game evaluation. Specialized juries also convene for other categories, including esports, accessibility, and best adaptation. Each voting outlet completes a confidential, unranked ballot based on the collective and diverse opinion of its entire editorial staff, which is...
I think the specialized juries for the categories of esports, accessibility, and best adaptation should not be a part of it at all. Like the adaptation category is essentially like adapting like the video games to some other medium, maybe whether it's animation or like live action. And to me, that just has no place at the video game awards. Like, it's still like, it's not a video game. It's an adaptation of a video game. I don't see any point in that. Again, like, I got a video that I'm gonna be making soon that I'm gonna like expand on a lot of this stuff, but yeah.
What I was saying, listing out its top 5 choices in each category, ballots are tabulated, and the 5 names that appear on the most ballots are put forth as nominees, which is, again, exactly what I said. It's just the most popular games. Can I just say, this happens all the time. People are like, oh, Jeff would let Starfield because Jeff loved PlayStation. Jeff doesn't vote. Jeff is not on the jury. Jeff does not actually have any say in what game is voted as Game of the Year. Jeff is not involved in that process. He funds the show, he pays for the show, he works in production. He does not vote. Jeff has no say. He is not involved in the nominating, voting process at all. In fact, nobody who isn't listed on that list of jury has anything to do with it. Not Jeff Awards show. Jeff does a lot, he does not choose the winners. And rant. Game Awards producer Jeff Keighley is not a member of the jury and does not vote on the nominees or winners. Similarly, the Game Awards Advisory Board has no involvement in the awards process and learns the results at the same time as the general public. Why do you use this jury for select nominees? Given the sheer number of games released each year as well as the extended time required to fully evaluate products, a voting outlet approach allows for the widest possible critical assessment, which, again, the Game Awards is like explicitly saying that's their intent, right? That is what this show is for, is just a really, really broad critical assessment. That is what you should take it as. It is not trying to do anything other than this exact thing. That is the purpose of this particular show. So then winners are determined by a blended vote between the voting jury and public fan voting. Fans can vote for their favorite games on thegameawards.com and on our Discord server. And I think I've seen that too. People be like, it should be entirely fan voted. There are other shows that are entirely fan voted. The Games' Choice Awards is entirely fan voted. If that's a thing you want, I would suggest you stop watching the Game Awards and watch that show instead. There are so many of them to pick from. In fact, I love watching all of them. It's generally really fun. I think DICE and GDC are my personal favorites. But the Game Awards is always so fun in terms of like, it happens in December, it's the end of the year, it's this big spectacle, we get new trailers, I don't know what they are most of the time, like it's just a fun celebration, and it's not something that you need to take seriously. And there's this like weird language surrounding the Game Awards specifically, where people will go, "Oh, that one game of the year," but it's like, at what outlet? There are so many outlets that do their own game of the year. IGN does their own game of the year. It's a weird thing that I definitely dislike, where people attribute Game of the Year to only the Game Awards. There are so many awards shows. I think Baldur's Gate 3 will win at the Game Awards. I think it will probably win IGN. There will definitely be some popular outlets that will give it to Alan Wake 2, that will give it to Zelda. Like, it's so weird to act like the Game Awards is like the only one when there are so many award shows. And last but not least, this is literally just a series of people voting, right? That's what they all are in the end. People not agreeing with you on it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. It doesn't have to mean anything. Just because the Game Awards jury, who again don't talk to each other and have no communication, and there's no way of knowing who played what game, and is super global and like the broadest possible opinion on video games, voted for something that you don't agree with, doesn't mean anything. It just means that's those people's opinions. And frankly, like part of when I did this, like when we did it for IGN or Funhouse, it's like very quick. Like you're just like, this one probably, I'd probably put this here. You're not like sitting down and being like, I must think carefully about which game produced the most value to the industry this year. I don't know what that was. Because it's not part of your job when you're on this jury. You already have a job. Usually it's like an end of day thing where you're like, oh fuck, yeah, I have to vote for the Game Awards. This. Don't take it so seriously is what I'm trying to say. If the industry does not agree with you on what wins Game of the Year, it doesn't mean anything. Like, that's part of the cool thing about video games is we all like different ones. There's so many games that have come out this year that are so fantastic, and people liking different ones to you, it's just like a credit to how many good games there are. My main point is just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean Game Awards is right. Game Awards is not Game of the Year. There are so many award shows that have Game of the Year that should be included into the same conversations. And my big thing at the end is like, I watch Game Awards and I go to Game Awards to have fun. And I have fun every time. It's a celebration of the industry. There's not an attack on how you feel about video games personally. And taking it that seriously, when I think most of this jury probably doesn't take it anywhere near that seriously, is just silly.
Here's the thing, right? Okay, she said like you shouldn't take it that seriously, but I don't know. In a way, if you don't take it somewhat seriously, what's the point of an award at all? And that's not speaking from the perspective of like just a viewer, just like at least the studios, like somebody should take it seriously. I mean, because otherwise, like, I mean, is it really that much of a celebration if you're not really taking it seriously which games you're celebrating? I mean, I don't know. That's a conversation for another day. But overall, I get where she's coming from. And I do think that at the very least, if you're a viewer, you shouldn't be upset at what games win and what games lose. Because, I mean, it serves no purpose. Like, it's pointless for you to be upset about that. Like, what wins, wins, and what loses, loses. So, I look at it like this. Regardless of if the game that I enjoy wins, so long as I enjoy the game that I played, or the games that I played that year, like, I still win regardless. Like, I don't lose anything from that. Pretty much a perspective I carry throughout it. Like, as long as I enjoy something, I mean, I don't care if something else wins at something else. Like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I enjoyed this video. I'm gonna give it a like and put the link down in the description if you want to check it out yourself. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed this reaction. And comment down below. What do you think about the Game Awards? What do you think about the nominations? Which game is your game of the year? Like, is it one that's already on this list? Is it one that's not on this list? And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.